Cortez the Killer is one of the greatest songs Neil Young ever recorded. It's the dominant track on Zuma. I think it eclipses everything else on that album, with some ease, as it turns out. It's one of Young's great epics, and for the first time he's using Aztec imagery, of all things, in a song. You shouldn't trust Neil Young as a historical chronicler, by the way. I mean, his account of what happens about Cortez is fantastical, to say the least. But as I'm sure he would point out, he was never that good a history student at school. But as an imaginative epic, it is fantastic. And I think the electric guitar work on that song is incredible. It's exquisite. It's so moving. It's Neil Young at his best. It takes the template of Down by the River and Cowgirl in the Sand and kind of takes it somewhere else. And I think this is the quintessence of Crazy Horse. This is one of the greatest collaborations that he ever did with members of Crazy Horse, and it's one of his greatest songs.
You know, live it's a track that just immediately creates this sort of mood of foreboding, and it does always produces some of his most sort of intense and lyrical guitar playing. It's just the perfect vehicle for Neil to kind of stretch out on, and all that kind of emotion comes pouring out of his amplifier.
There were times in that song where they had to approach it just laid back and easy. Okay, here's someone coming up the river, they're looking at the new world, and what are we going to do with it, blah, blah. And then as you further get into the song, well, maybe the intensity has to come up a little bit. The band responds, it matches what the lyrics are saying and how Neil is singing them, then they have to back off. It works so well on many different levels. Like the relationship he had with Crazy Horse, I don't think many other bands had that same thing. It was just this unspoken bond, and without speaking a word or maybe not even looking at each other to, you know, sometimes guitar players will nod at the bass player to go into a different whatever. I don't think Crazy Horse really had to do all of that. And Cortez just seemed to work on so many levels. And it's a long song, and in the middle there's what sounds like that little jamming part. They got to freewheel a little bit. Neil got to sit back and watch them freewheel. It's just good structure, played well, and it all fits.
I love American Stars and Bars. The thing I love about it, besides the great music on the album, I think American Stars and Bars has one of the best album covers of any rock and roll album. You've got the native Indian, the mountains, and it's this sort of, the theme is very old Americana, yet it's the cover art is done in this kind of pop art Andy Warhol style that I just love, and I think that album is one of the great album covers of all time.
American Stars and Bars, this is kind of a mix mash of styles, written from 77 back to 1974 in 4 different locations, 4 different recording sessions. It had everybody from Linda Ronstadt to then unknown Nicolette Larson, as a matter of fact. There's some country tinged stuff, and there's some outright rockers. It's, you know, the flip side of Neil, you know, Neil Light and Neil with fries and gravy. It's great stuff.
You could take that chorus, you are like, I sing like a hinge, but you are like a hurricane, and if you put the right chords behind it, you could imagine, you know, Johnny Cash singing that, very slow and easy and countrified and all that kind of stuff, but it works best with that rock arrangement, because a hurricane is not soft. Hurricane is wind, and it's action, and there's stuff blowing around, so you got to have a driving, rocking song or a song structure behind it in order to convey the meaning of what he's talking about. Hurricanes aren't soft, they're hard.
Like a Hurricane is a return to the Crazy Horse, guitar, edgy, loose, underwritten type of song where they can stretch out and do solos and improv. I think it was a great return to form. Great song. Been covered by Roxy Music. I don't know if you ever heard that rendition, but they do the same. It's a song that, like I said, you can just stretch out and go and have fun with. It's a great track with great melodies and some hooks, and of course Neil's signature guitar riff.
1976, he appeared for 3 nights at the Hammersmith Odeon, and that song was the centerpiece of every concert. The people may have heard it before, possibly on bootleg, but most of the people there would never have heard it, so it was the surprise song of the set. and it was a guitar workout of immense proportions. He had this giant fan on stage, which was, you know, blowing stuff out of it that looked like he was in some kind of Hollywood movie or something. And of course he had long hair down here and it was blowing out here somewhere. It was unbelievable though, the intensity of the song. It got a standing ovation every night. I mean, it brought the house down. A lot of people probably bought American Stars and Bars simply to possess.
He tends to follow a kind of, you know, an electric album, a loud electric album with a sort of more pastoral acoustic album, or, you know, roughly speaking, he's tended to sort of, you know, alternate between those two modes. So, you know, comes a time as Neil in acoustic mode. It was recorded in Nashville. It's like a revisiting of Harvest very consciously, and it was a big hit. Actually, it was a really successful album. I think it's a good record. You know, it's Neil doing. Sort of doing country-inflected acoustic songs, you know, that some of them which are really, really pretty, like Already Won is a lovely song, and you know, there's harmonies from Linda Ronstadt, Nicolette Larson, and so forth. You know, it's a warm album, a lot of love and looking for love. I mean, it's that, you know, it's that side of Neil. I think it's again slightly overlooked, really, an overlooked record now.
And comes a time I thought it was a really kind of quite beautiful collection of songs, and he'd assembled all these kind of different country type musicians playing various, you know, acoustic instruments, and I think Emmylou Harris is on it and Nicolette Larson, all these kind of country type singers doing backups. You know, I think really enjoyable record, sort of in the Harvest vein a bit, sort of the country acoustic Neil, and I think a record probably unreasonably neglected.